Okay, rule number 3, what we have here is we're raising an index to another index. So we have x to the power of m, x to the power of m, and then we raise it to the power of n. Now what happens here is when we do this type of question, we get the two indices and we multiply them together. So that is the basic rule algebraically. So now let's have a look at what that looks like when we look at some examples. So for example, if we have x to the power of 6 in a bracket, and then we raise that to the power of 7. So according to the rule, we get the x stays the same, and the two indices, one is the index, another one is the index of the index, we multiply them together. So that will give you x to the power of, what will that give you x to the power of? 42. X to the power of 42. Sorry about my little chubby x in the middle. Okay, are we happy with that? Now, so we can have here again, we can have a combination of positive indices, negative indices, all different types of type questions. So let's have a look. So for example, we have y to the power of -3, and we're going to square that. So we use the same rule, y stays the same. The first index is multiplied by the second index. Now we have to be careful with our negative numbers again. It's only negative numbers. Make sure you've mastered it. So if you haven't mastered negative numbers, please search on my channel, Romantic Power 1-to-1 Tutor, for negative numbers. And you find nice, lovely videos on that. Help you master negative numbers. So the rule says when you raise an index to another index, you multiply them as we've done here. So -3 times by 2 will give us -6. Here comes the next question. So here, for example, we could have, say, 3 to the power of -2. And all of that is to the power of -4. So the 3 stays the same. The indices are multiplied together, taking care that the second one, okay, is still negative. So you got -2 times by -4. So the 3 stays the same. So -2 times by -4 will give you +8. Yeah, happy with that? When you multiply negative numbers with the signs are the same, the answer is always positive. I'll put the plus there for emphasis. It's not necessary for the plus to be there in the question. Okay, are we happy with that? So here we've got two positive indices. We've got one negative, one positive, one both negative. Okay, so it doesn't really matter how we do it. We just have to be careful with our negative numbers. Now here comes the style of questions that you got on your worksheet, where you've got questions like this. Let's have a go. So for example, let me have a quick look. Here we go. So we have a question like this. We have 3x squared y cubed, all of that to the power of 4, for example. So that's the kind of example that you got on your worksheet. Now if you're doing that kind of question, what you have to realize is this. So if I can get your attention, I'm going to back to the original example here. This is the original example here with the purple arrows, yeah? We got one item with the power, yes? And the rule is, what do? We multiply them. What we got in this question is, we've got the same question here, we've got the same rule, but being implied how many times? Once, twice, 3 times. We've got 3 questions, we got 3 questions joined together in that one bracket. So we treat them separately. Now that 3 is to the power of 1. It's not shown, but it's there. So when we interpret that, we say it's 3 to the power of 1, and that 1 has to be raised to this power of 4. So it's times by 4. And then that is being times by an x to the power of 2. Now that 2 has then to be raised by the 4 as well. So then we apply the rule of multiplying the indices. And this x squared is times by y cubed. Let's pick them up. So the y cubed itself is also being raised to the power of 4. So that is also multiplied by 4 according to this original rule. So let's have a look what that gives us. So what's 1 times by 4? 1 times by 4 is simply 4. What's 2 times by 4? 2 times by 4 is 8. What's 3 times by 4? 12. Now, what we can do in our final stage of tidying up, we can get rid of all the time signs because they're not really necessary. at all. And then we can just rewrite everything as we're supposed to in a simplified fashion. And that is our final answer. I mean, I know I haven't worked out the value 3 to the power of 4. Ideally, we should. So 3 to the power of 4, which does that mean? So this part here, 3 to the power of 4, a little kind of, it means 3 times by 3 times by 3 times by 3. Will that give us 81? So ideally, what we should do, I mean, well, let's change it and make it better. The answer should be 81 x to the 8 y to the 12, which means 81 times by x8 times by y to the 12. And that is our proper final answer for that kind of question. So in this original example, how many items do you have in the brackets? We had 1. And in my question, we have how many parts we have? 3. It doesn't matter, you have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, doesn't matter. For each number stroke letter, we raise its index to the index outside the brackets. And then we join it all back together. I'll be happy with that. Now you can try the questions on your sheet.